Hello, everybody. My name is Michael A. Tischer, and I am a professor with UMGC Asia. And I've been doing this since 1999 and have enjoyed it so much because of people like you that take our courses. Thank you so much for signing up with us, and I look forward to working with you. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about STAT 200. Let me share my screen. So my name is originally German and it means table maker. And somebody thought that the C should not be in there because we don't really pronounce it. So we don't say Tiskaher or Tischer. So let's just go ahead and drop the C. So somebody in my family decided to drop the C. And there's the abbreviated version of my name, Tischer. So it's like Fisher, except instead of F, it's a T. So Stat 200 is all about an introduction to statistics. And first, we're going to cover what's called descriptive statistics. And descriptive statistics, this is the act of collecting data and using math to analyze that data to make some kind of conclusion or some prediction. Now, it's understandable for people to be anxious about math or have some issues with math, no problem. So in this course, even though this course uses math, we're going to concentrate less on math calculations and more on getting the right answer very quickly in order to use that answer to make some kind of conclusion or some prediction. And so with that, we're going to be using lots of technology. All right, so one of the technology deals with so the technology that we have deals with summarizing and graphing data, and we'll talk about types of data, collection of sample data, statistical thinking. So we'll do all this in our course, in our classroom. And we're going to use technology to make some kind of graph like this, which is called a histogram. So this histogram measures the energy consumption of the electricity in my home. So notice that around September, it's about 29,000 yen there. And this graph for September is actually the previous month. Okay. So I used 29,000. So my electric bill was about 29,000 yen in August. And then the next month in September, which is what this October graph signifies, it dropped considerably. And that's because I got solar panels installed in my home. And so that really cut it down um, over 10,000 yen. All right. Okay. And so it went back up again in December because of heating. Um, but then after a while, it started to go back down again because it hasn't been so cold here where I am. All right. So we'll have a lot of fun making those kind of things and then talking about conclusions like we just did. Then we'll talk about measures of standard variation. So maybe you've heard of the mean, the median. So we'll talk about those and then use those to make conclusions. And then we'll talk about probability. And probability, there's a lot of probability here. We'll talk about combinatorics, which is the act of like counting combinations of certain patterns. Conditional probability is whenever you want to focus on a certain demographic. And then we'll get into what are called discrete random variables, the binomial distribution, the normal distribution. Then we'll get into, then next in the course, we'll get into inferential statistics. And inferential statistics is all about making a guess and then running a test to see if that guess is really true or not. And this is where learners really enjoy statistics because they see how it applies to their fields, such as business or medicine or economics or psychology, right? And so maybe, for example, you have a new drug And so you want to test to see if this new drug is effective. So we'll run a test and we'll see what happens. So it's very useful there. And we'll talk about inferential statistics from many different perspectives, uh, including confidence interval estimation, hypothesis testing, and all the stuff that you see right here. All right, so maybe you wonder, how is my grade calculated? All right. Okay, well, part of the grade deals with discussion participation. And so um, we're going to meet in the classroom and talk about some discussions. And we'll see what's in the discussion. And then we'll talk about the things such as, those descriptive statistics concepts or inferential statistics concepts or probability concepts. We'll use those concepts that apply to that discussion. All right. And then and hopefully that will be fun because I really like meeting in the classroom because we can all see each other and learn from each other and help each other solve any problems that pertain to that discussion, right? And let me show you an example discussion that we have. All right, so here's a discussion right here, and talks about the bell curve. And the bell curve is also known as a normal distribution. And we'll talk about something called a z-score. All right, and so we'll in a class in our classroom together, we'll get practice on calculating z-scores and then using the z-score to discuss the conclusion or the prediction involving this normal distribution. All right. Okay, so here we're talking about this normal distribution talks about the height of adult males. And so over here, there's not many adult males who have a height of 60 inches or 63 inches. And on the other end, there's not really a lot of males that have height of 75 inches or 78 inches. That's because most of the males are more in the middle around the average. And so heights usually have a normal distribution. And so we'll talk a lot about the theory of normal distribution in our course in our class and get a lot of hands-on practice solving some problems pertaining to the normal distribution, and so that we can understand how to discuss so that we can understand how to do this discussion, and then we'll try to do this discussion in class as well. All right. All right. Let me go back to the grades. Okay. So discussion participation. This will be really more in class. Okay, next on the syllabus is weekly homework problems, 3 checkpoint quizzes, and also a final exam. All this is going to be in something called MyStatLab. And MyStatLab is an online learning statistical program that's open 24 hours. So you can go in there anytime and work on these problems and the checkpoint quizzes. You can work on the checkpoint quizzes, the weekly homework problems at any time in the classroom. All right, in this MyStatLab. And to access MyStatLab, you would do this through Leo. And so before class, you will want to set up MyStatLab. And then once you have MyStatLab set up, you can go there anytime and work on these homework problems and checkpoint quizzes. All right. Okay, with weekly homework problems, you can try and retry any um, homework assignment as much as you like to raise your grade. And for checkpoint quizzes, you have 2 different attempts to raise your grade on that. And also with final exam, that will appear on the final week of the course, and you can go in there and take the final exam twice to raise your grade. So for the checkpoint quizzes and final exam, you would take it twice, and out of the 2 attempts that you did, the higher of the 2 attempts, the higher grade of the 2 attempts is reported. All right. Okay. So that's basically what SAT 200 is and how to succeed in our course. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope we can all learn from each other in our class once a week and usually once a week. So I look forward to working with you then. In the meantime, thank you very much for signing up for STAT 200.